I think the first takeaway is we beat teams that we haven't beaten in 5 years or if ever in the heat. We didn't race particularly well in the 1V in the final, and I think both the 1V and 2V raced a little bit worse in the final than they did in the heat. I think a little bit is some maturity that we talked about and some of their processes in place, and they're letting the moment overwhelm or overcome them a little bit and not rowing the way they can and rowing down a little bit. So I think looking forward to this weekend, we're looking to kind of see that execution at the higher pace and some of that calmness and making sure they're hitting their like A, B, C, D in their process. So the four actually, the 1V, 2V, like I said, was a little bit rougher in their second race. The four actually reversed. They had a pretty rough first race and then kind of found some rhythm and like found some confidence and rose up a lot in their second race. And obviously, like, I don't think anybody on the team will tell you that we don't have more that we need to find, but I think it gave us a really good building point in all three boats, and now we have to go take that building point and put it to the next step up the ladder. So, I mean, it's kind of a process. It starts, I guess, with your basic like on the ergs. That's probably the most individualistic we ever get. And then, so that kind of gives you an idea of like who's got the fitness. You know, the old saying, ergs don't float, is true, but I've also never seen an Olympian with a bad erg. So there's definitely some crossover. Then we kind of get into, from that, we kind of establish roughly what we think the boats are going to start at. Then, like for spring training, we kind of paired off, port starboard pairs with someone who's roughly their same speed, and did some switches to kind of see what pairs worked best together, and then what pairs moved the 1V the fastest, or switch some people around during piece work. Then as we kind of like get further in the season, we start to narrow it down. We have more database. Then we do some more individualistic. Our boathouse is on is almost exactly 1,000 meters, so we can do matrices where we send out everybody, you're like 4 fours worth of people, and we actually rotate everybody. And you can look at the whole trend for individuals as well as kind of each of the like comparisons in each boat, who moved a boat faster, who made it slower, and then kind of add everything together, do some basic math, but longhand spreadsheeted math to get some really good results and see like who's the fastest port side, who's second, third, fourth, fifth. And it fluctuates a little bit. You know, sometimes someone gets a really good draw on the first one and they're with a bunch of people who are like the 3 fastest people, and that draw kind of helps them a little bit, and somebody gets a boat that's not quite as, proficient in the first one, that might hurt them a little bit, but you hope that there's enough rotation. Typically there's enough rotation to kind of pull that out, and over the course of the semester we can kind of like say, okay, well, those 3 fastest people you don't have to seat race again, because they're more than likely the 3 fastest. They're not going to go from 3 to 9. So then we can kind of start building in, okay, let's look at number 4 through 8 versus 1 through 4 in the 2V and race them and see where they all fall. So you can kind of adjust and kind of tier down the list as you go. 2 2Ks is like we do, like a typical morning would be 4 to 5 to 6 2Ks if we're doing hard work at home. So 2 2Ks over the course of several hours really is not a huge training factor for us. I would actually put more of like the bus ride, actually does more, and kind of even on a travel, like the loss of like Friday's training. So it was lucky we were able to get through Philly traffic and everything well enough to get Friday afternoon on the course. So that gave us a little bit more practice time that we might have missed otherwise. But when you travel, you do kind of lose some training opportunity, and kind of where we're at, we're not looking at getting an at-large bid in NCAA. The only pathway for us is to go win the CAAs. So each of these races ends up being, yes, competitive, but more of like, how are we executing? Do we want to beat Michigan State? Yes. Did that Michigan State have a really good result last week against some top teams, like not quite breaking into the top 25, but they're probably flirting around the 27, 30 level? Yeah. So are we ready to be 27, 30 level? I don't know yet. We're going to kind of have to grow into that. But in order to go beat Michigan State this weekend, we've got to start thinking like we're in the top 27, top 30. So we, some of that transition has to happen in our own heads. So I think part of it's getting good racing in, how we race it, and I think we had a really good boost from that first race because we know we have the speed. We don't have the consistency in our speed to do it all the time. So now we know what we need to work on, and I think everybody kind of had a little bit of a breath because we've had bad results the last 2 seasons. There's nothing to hide about that. But we now have, everyone's been committed to the training. The training's paying off. They're seeing that they have the speed. They don't quite have the repeatability and the consistency in it, but we're really getting to the point that we can put it out, and then the next focus on practice, this week's been a little rough with a lot of high winds, but Tuesday on the water doing the piecework, like we were really sharp with our consistency, and that's going to pay off the next time we race. Yeah, so I mean, I think the big one that happened this week is we got the full start dock assembled, so it's ready to go, so we don't have to do floating starts. Last year we didn't have the start dock ready for the opening, so we should have that fully employed starting this week, and then in 3 weeks at Ford Lake Cup we're going to have all 8 fingers and the whole thing out. The weather the last 2 days has been a little windy, a little rough, so we haven't been able to put the course in yet, but we're going to work real hard tomorrow to kind of hang everything that we can in the time frame we've got so we can make sure we have some good racing for Saturday. So it looks like during race time, so 10 to 11, wind's going to be out of the north at about 8, building to 10 miles an hour. North is good because it's kind of a crosswind, and it'll be a little bit actually more sheltered than when it's an east-west tail headwind. There's just too much space for the wind to get chopping up. The rain actually, again, helps because it knocks down any chop. It really breaks up the ability of the wind to get a straight line and build the water up, so it breaks down the chop. So it should be pretty solid conditions if everyone's just a little bit wet. But good warm up, get heated up, shouldn't be a problem.